Hello.
Hi.
We are here today to discuss Lacrimosa. So this is a game of helping Mozart, right? Well, Mozart's widow,
write
the work with her
the last
to finish
part.
more than the last. He only actually wrote the first 8 bars.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, it was
she went out and contracted it out.
Yes. So, which is kind of grim because got the dead body of Mozart on the cover. It's kind of dark.
But it's pretty.
But before we get into any of this morbid game, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because life is short, obviously, and you don't know how long we're going to be here.
And you may not have anybody to help finish off your last project.
I might go belly up tomorrow, then no one's going to be here to finish my collection.
Sell all the games.
Exactly. This is getting real dark. Rob, why don't you tell us about Lacrimosa?
So Lacrimosa is a fairly new release. Came out last year in 2022. The rating is 7.9. The rank is 627, which is really good for such a new game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1 to 4 player game. Plays in about 90 minutes, which I think is pretty accurate. Age 14 and up. Now, the designers are Gerard Asensi with Ferran Renalius. Arts by Jared Blando and Enrique Corominas, which you guys did really good. The art's beautiful. Published by Devir Games. Now, the MSRP is $70.99. We did find it a little bit cheaper. Miniature Market had it $63.99. Card House at $63.79.
Okay. And
didn't get a chance to look at Board Game Geek, but probably not really that many out there since it's so new.
Yeah. So let's talk about the quality components. So for a retail game,
this is retail.
Kickstarter or anything, this is really nice.
Really nice.
You've got everything. All the wood is screen printed. You've got these boards they're music books on the outside, and then you open them up and they're inlaid. And
the player boards are really, really cool.
Yes. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of warping on them, which has made it a little difficult to slide the cards in.
Yeah.
The other problem is because of this, I don't think there's going to be enough room for sleeves with these.
Probably
slots, which is also a problem because I'd really rather sleeve the cards. Mm-hmm. The cards themselves are actually really nice.
Yeah,
they have a good feel to them, a linen finish, and they're really nice cards.
Good thickness, yeah.
But you're going to use them a lot. You're going to shuffle them a lot, and you're going to be sliding them in and out. So it'd be nice to be able to sleeve them because there's going to be a lot of wear on them.
Yeah.
And being that this game is as pricey as it is for the retail version, you don't want to have to replace the game fairly quickly.
Right.
The board is oversized board. It's really beautiful, but we'll get into that in the theme. But it's a big board.
So I assume money was cardboard. Is that why we're
money
using
is
the
cardboard.
chips?
That was one of the big disappointments. No metal coins. It's just cardboard punched money, and I didn't care for it.
Was it fairly thin cardboard?
Yeah, it's the same.
Because I like some of the thick cardboard.
It's the same as these tiles. It's not bad. It's not bad. But I just honestly would
better than paper money.
Yeah, I agree. I would not use paper money. I'd use the cardboard money for the paper money, but I'd rather use my coins when I have them. So yeah, I mean that's mostly what everything is a bunch of cardboard tiles, a bunch of cards, and then the wooden tokens that are all screen printed, except for your stats markers, which they're small. You don't need them to be. So I think they've done an excellent job on the components of this. The board is really nice. It's got a linen finish on it too, and it's huge, like I mentioned. Your score markers are crests. The color choices are a bit suspect, but apart from that,
now one thing I was wondering. So I didn't open up the box. So and this is Randy and Miranda's second playthrough at least, right? So the interesting part is that you have this little insert that you take in and out that shows you the order of play.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that it comes in different languages, which is kind of neat, so you could play with multinational. But I wonder if that's also maybe designed for maybe expansions.
Possibly. I mean,
because it's kind of interesting that you would just put that in the middle of your board. I can't imagine. The only reason why they did that was for language.
Well, given a theme, I don't know how you would do an expansion.
I don't either.
They found another Lacrimosa after he died.
It's Beethoven's part.
Yeah. Miss Mozart went and found Beethoven and decided to finish his music. She's just going around finishing dead composers' music for them.
I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was a weird design, but it's actually pretty cool that they made it. I mean, they've got a book in here for every language.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a multinational copy of the game.
Yeah, I mean, these are thick rulebooks. They're 24 pages and really good stock, which we'll get into when we get the rules. But yeah, to have 6 of them in the box, one for each of the languages that it supported. I thought that was pretty nice. As far as quality of this, I'm probably 8.5. I think I would have gone 9 if not for the curling on the boards.
I didn't think the curling was that bad, and for it being retail, I'm going to go a little bit higher. For a retail game, this is a 9 to me.
Okay.
It's really nice. I mean, generally, you don't get this good of quality stuff out of a retail game.
No. Let's talk about theme. So we're completing Mozart's last work, and it's all about the journey that Mrs. Mozart, the widow, traveled around and trying to get musicians to complete the work. And you've got 2 very well-respected musicians in each game that you're playing with that you're trying to see which one is going to finish the most of your different portions of the Lacrimosa, which is really cool. You don't get a strong feel of that's what's happening. I mean, it's just moving around tracks.
It's pretty pasted on, but
yeah, it's a neat theme, and
the artwork, the art lends really well to the theme. Now, the mechanics, not really.
I mean, they even put like the board box. I mean, has the red, like the metallic lettering on it, and real beautiful art of Mozart. And
just looking at the cover, you can really tell he's into it. I mean,
and then the grim dead Mozart. So the before and the after of Mozart. Just threw some of the nice tiles on the floor here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the art is just a phenomenal.
It really is.
The board, nice. I mean, it's a little two-toned, but it's still beautiful. Mm-hmm. And the cards they have.
I mean, the artwork on the cards are pretty minimalist. It's mostly iconography.
Yeah,
but it's still nice.
Yeah, and the iconography is very easy to interpret.
It is.
So they don't have a personal cheat sheet. They do have a cheat sheet. But
didn't you say that the rules made it sound more complicated than it really was?
The rules definitely do. We'll get into the rules. We'll talk about that. It's not that hard of a game, really. It looks like it, just from the art and the rule book, that it would be more complex than it actually is.
No, I think I picked it up within a turn or two.
Yeah.
It wasn't tough.
No, it took me, less than 5 minutes to explain the whole game to you. Because it basically consists of 5 different actions that you can choose from. So, yeah, I think the art on this and the theme of this is pretty well done. Mm-hmm. I just don't think, I mean, you don't feel music when you're playing. I mean, it'd be cool to have, I guess, play with like some Mozart playing in the background while you're playing. That might give you more of a feel. But as far as the game itself, we got an area control aspect to it while you're completing the compositions. You've got a board movement, which you mentioned was very much like the.
The game gives me feels it travels with Marco Polo.
Yeah, Marco Polo.
And you mentioned Newton, but
Newton too,
I can kind of see that, but it really gave me the feels just with the. And we'll talk about gameplay, but each part of the board just really gave me the feels of Travels on Marco Polo. Mm-hmm. I could really see maybe it was inspired by it.
Yeah. So all in all, I'm probably going to go ahead and give this one an 8 as far as theme goes. I think that's where I think the art is phenomenal, but it doesn't just doesn't integrate perfectly with the gameplay. I don't think.
And for the same reason why I think I upped it for. Components, I'm actually going to go down a little bit for that's kind of the same reason. Even though the art's fantastic, everything else is pretty layered on. So I think it's a great game. We'll talk about that in gameplay, but thematically, I didn't feel it. So I think I'm at 7.5, but I'm going that high because the art's so good.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about the rule book. So I mentioned there's 6 of them in the box with different languages. The rule book, it says 24 pages. It's laid out nicely as far as the rules go, but it looks more intimidating than it actually is, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
Because it's broken. I had to read several of the points over multiple times to make sure I was understanding, because I was expecting it to be harder than what it was. So I think part of it was reading through, expecting it to be heavy, and finding it wasn't. And then I read back through it to make sure I wasn't missing something, because it seemed like it should have been more difficult than it was.
Got it.
So I don't know if that's fully the rule book's fault or the expectation on my part from looking at everything.
Right.
When I saw this oversized board with the complexity on the board, I was thinking like Bitoku, and that one was a beast to learn. And the one with the eggs, the Praga, Kaput Regni, That's what I was expecting. And when I got through here, it's like, this is really much more simple than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, it does a decent job of explaining it, but it does it very wordy. There's 24 pages. It was not necessary to explain how the gameplay
but just
works.
looking over here, it looks like you got some big pictures.
They do have some good pictures, good illustrations in here, mostly, but it's like you don't need that. I mean, it's like explaining how to upgrade and replace a card.
Right.
And, if you're used to playing a deck builder, you know how to do it.
Pretty easy.
So yeah, I mean, and then the end scoring kind of it goes through quick. It's like, but that's kind of the meat of the game. They did have a little example for scoring, but it wasn't nearly as fleshed out as a lot of the gameplay was in the book. It wasn't hard at all. There is a solo game in here that they have. They actually have special cards just for the solo game. There's the solo rules. Actually, the gameplay for just the multiplayer goes up to page 18. Then you have the solo play, and that's like 3 pages, and then it goes into basically a component list. And
that's kind of surprising. Not surprising, but that's kind of good to see because, a lot of games are coming out with more fleshed out solo rules, which makes it feel like a different game, which is something I like a lot. I hate it when a game just says, just do a better job next time. And that's how you play solo. Wow. That's chintzy.
So yeah, I think it's laid out well. I honestly think it was more my expectation of this being a heavier game that caused me to have to read it multiple times.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and give this an 8 because I think it does a good job. I just think it's probably a little wordier than it needed to be. I think 24 pages was a bit excessive because the gameplay just really isn't complex at all. I would call this a medium level game.
Really? Okay. I think so. It doesn't lean on the heavy side. I think it's right in the middle.
So, all right. So going on to gameplay. So you start the game out. You're going to have a deck of 10 cards, one of which is called an opus, and you pull it out and set it next to your board. Opuses stay up, face up as you get them throughout the game. The other 9 cards are multi-action cards. You have a action at the top, and then you have a resource or one or more resources at the bottom that will be income for your next round, which I thought was really clever design. Right. And you're going to shuffle your deck, and you're going to have to select 4 of them to put in. Randomly shuffle and get 4 cards in your hand, and you're going to choose 2 of the 4 cards. One you're going to play into the top slot where you're going to use the action on the top, and the other will be your income that goes at the bottom. So you'll also start the game with around 10 coins. It depends on player count and your turn order. But yeah, you're going to have 10 to 11 coins.
And then your first round, you start with 2 of each say resources.
2 resources, which is, there's a inkwell, there's kind of a wheel, and then a picture of a bust of Mozart, it looks like, or a composer in general. So you're going to get 2 of those to start for each of those stats. And those are really the currency along with the coin that you're going to use throughout the game to pay. You
start on 2 money alone for income.
Yeah, you got a little coin purse, which is also screen printed.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So each turn you're going to choose to take one of these actions, and there's really only 5 different actions in the game. There's the icons that represent them. Now on the board there is a row at the top that has cards representing each era. There's 5 eras in the game, and you'll take 4 actions each era, so you'll have 20 turns total in the game. Now, the first era, you're going to have cards out there, and they're pretty weak, but they get progressively stronger as you go, but all of them are better than your starter cards.
Right.
So one of the actions you can take is to play a book and candle action, which is what you use to acquire more action cards. So there's cards that are action cards on the row, and there's also opuses, which I mentioned are the ones that go face up on the side. Opuses are kind of like fulfilling orders, if you will, in a game. There's multiple uses of those too.
Yeah, because you can either get money if you want to keep them. It's like, you're performing, you get money. Yeah. Or you can sell them, and then that gives you income, which allows you to increase that track. And then sometimes a lot of victory points actually. That's how I made the majority of my victory points.
You get them twice
you get them when acquiring the card, and then when you sell the card.
Yeah. So they're one of the main means for scoring points in the game. So the book and candle action will not let you get an opus. You
It's just
can
action
only
cards.
specifically get action cards.
And what's cool about that is that the upgraded ones usually give you 2 actions. And then when you get even more, sometimes it's 2 actions and money or 2 actions and resources. I mean, they definitely get more powerful.
Yeah, but the problem is you're not getting anything on the turn you take them. You're just getting the card.
And when you get the action card, it immediately slides up as income for your next round.
It replaces the card. So the card you had as your income goes back to your bag, or if it came, generally you're going to replace your starters. You might eventually replace ones that you acquired during the game, but if it's a starter, it goes back to your bag.
And that's where some of the tension in the game comes in. It's like, do I want to lose this card?
Yeah.
Or which card do I want to lose to replace it with this better version of a card?
Yeah, you have to think.
So you really got to plan around that.
Because I ended up with some cards that were useless to me in my deck that I upgraded to because of some of the decisions that other people made that eliminated my capability of playing in certain actions.
And similar to me, I got rid of a card that would have I may have even been able to win the game if I hadn't got rid of the card 2 or 3 rounds before.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't able to sell one of the cards because I got rid of the action that allowed me to do it.
So the action, like I said, the book and the candle action is the one that's going to do that. Now the similar one is the hand writing the music. It's like a scroll. Yeah, you're writing music, presumably, and that's how you get opuses. So that lets you take the other form of cards, which are all in this lineup together. So it's a shuffled deck, and it's got both the opuses and the action cards mixed in. Now what's unique about it is on the board, depending on whether it's an opus or a action card, when it comes into play, it'll either go slide up to the top or the bottom,
which determines cost.
Which determines the cost of what you spend on the card. And I thought that was really clever.
It is a clever idea because the opuses generally cost money and resources.
The black, the
whereas the action cards usually cost money and any other resources, but it's very interesting how that if you're not planning well, you won't have the resources or the money you need to get the cards that you really want.
Yeah. So the next one going down the board would be the wagon action. Yeah. So the wagon action lets you move the bust of presumably Mozart around the board. And which doesn't make a lot of sense if that's Mozart because
he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah. So maybe it's like your courier.
It's the ghost of Mozart.
I'm hoping that is not Lady Mozart, but it could be.
It could be. I would hope not.
Yeah. But
but maybe it's a servant or something.
Yeah, somebody's courier, something like
that.
But they're moving around the board to different locations, and at those locations, there's various actions or bonuses you can get for taking an action there. This is where you're going to spend the wheel, because the movement, and presumably, but you're also spending coin like tolls as you move each road. You can go as far as you want with one movement action. You don't have to go next to you, but for every road you go through, you're going to be paying coins.
And again, that's one of the similarities to Marco Polo, because it's got that same connection cost, or even like Power Grid. You can think of that. It's got those connection costs.
It has connection costs, but Marco Polo does limit you on how far you can move based upon
but you still have that connection cost, whether it's camels or what.
Yeah. So here you're going to have to pay quite a cost if you want. You get to a different location that's far away. But the actions, there's 2 different sizes. There's standard actions, which are these smaller ones that give you a perk of some kind or an action. But then there's larger tiles that give you in-game scoring. If you get this, you keep it till the end of the game. If you meet the criteria, then you get victory points for it. Criteria does have to be unique. So if you have overlapping criteria, for you have
if it's looking at cellos.
If you have two of the opuses that are based upon the cello house or whatever, you then will have to have 2 different ones to count for both of those to complete them. So there's
it's cards in your possession. If it's cards like with those opuses that you get rid of, they don't count towards it.
Yeah. So at the end of the game, you have to keep those. There's a lot of them that have to do with the actual composition down here at the bottom, where if you have certain instruments that you've played or different things like that you're going to get points for those. So there's a hodgepodge of different in-game bonuses, but you get to keep them for the end of the game. And at the end of the round, if one of them is not selected, they all get flipped over to the backside and they get upgraded bonuses, which is really cool too. And they will stay there until somebody takes them in an upgraded state. So you'll get like a perk to go there that gives you bonus money and victory points typically. So that is the wagon action. Now the next action would be to play the cross. They have a crucifix or a cross, really nice gold looking one. That lets you play down here on the composition board.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you get to choose between the two different composers down here and the 5 different portions of the Lacrimosa where you're going to contribute to the music. And the instrument you're going to play on is also depicted. And you have a board over on your side of your board over here. You have a token representing each instrument, and you might have 1 or you might have 2, but you're going to get to play one of your choice of those if you can afford the cost of what the composer's charging at that point. So you're either going to have to pay. This is where you're going to spend a lot of your Inkwell white tokens. Is down here, and you also spend money, and sometimes you have to reduce
a lot of money.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to reduce your coin purse, which really hurts when you have to do that. So you're going to end up losing income if you have to do that. So there's these tokens. Then basically you get to then assign whichever token you chose to go. That as long as the instrument matches to play into it. And then you get to decide which composer you're going to buy the top tile from. And you put the token, there's a single note and a double note. You put the token on the side that matches which composer that you took. And it's an area control thing where whichever composer contributed the most to that is going to get the higher points for each token you have in your possession. So it's not whoever has the most tokens there. It's whichever composer's been chosen the most in that area.
And there's potentially a lot of points that you can scored on this board.
Yes. I mean, Miranda pretty much focused on that exclusively this game, and she came in 3rd, but wasn't that far behind us.
Not really.
And she was way behind before the end.
Yeah, she caught up.
Yeah, so you can get a lot of points at the end of the game for that.
The most interesting part, and you did mention it, is that the instruments, they can be limited.
Yeah.
And so there was a couple spots I really wanted to go to, but Miranda hit it first, and there's like only 2 of that instrument. And so now that's completely blocked on my board. I can't use it for the rest of the game.
Right.
And that kind of hurt because it was one of the actions I wanted to block up would have gave me a bunch of points.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I was focusing on was that part of the opus and giving me income.
I had 3 of my cards
scoring me points
crosses that were completely useless.
It was just like, man, that really sucked.
Yeah. And not to mention that the white income trap, the Inkwell, is useless to you pretty much after that, except for acquiring the cards where you can spend any. And
then another part of that, which you didn't mention, but I found out when you about halfway in the game was during setup, you said there were some cards that you have to build.
There's 5 Lady Mozart cards.
And it will block certain instruments.
Yeah, it determines based on player count which spots you cover.
And then that's really a good part of the game because it really adds variability to the game.
It causes you to be more competitive trying to get those. So, there's a lot of fighting for these spots down here. And, I started out competing and then just kind of caved. And
I kind of caved too. So, I mean, I was able to get some points, but I didn't get the amount that Miranda did.
But to be fair, you and I came in 1st and 2nd.
True.
So, it wasn't like that one strategy didn't kill us.
Right.
So the last action is kind of looks like a performing curtain and a diploma.
Yeah.
And this one, you can this is all about opuses. So you can either perform an opus and
which
get a
generally
reward.
gives you money.
It gives you money and it lets you keep the opus for future uses. You can only each use one. You
can use one opus per round.
Well,
but you may
use
have
that same opus once per round. You can't.
But you can have multiple opuses.
You can have multiple opus. Opie?
Opie.
Yeah. So you can perform multiple opuses during the course of a round, but they have to all be different. You have to tap them.
Right.
Or you can sell the opus, and the opuses have at the bottom of it, each one, the bonuses you get. Usually they're going to cost composers, the little black tokens, and you will either get money, as you mentioned, or you'll get, there's coin purses on here, which will let you increase your income, and victory points. Now, sometimes they're zeros.
Yeah.
But
and it's the other way around. You might not get income. You might get victory points. You might get both.
Yep.
But that's where I scored the majority of my points because one of the neat little tokens I got down here gave me additional victory points for certain type of opuses that I was able to buy. I got victory points, and then when I completed them or sold them all, I got bonus points.
Yes.
So that was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yep. So that's really a big chunk of the victory points is there. And that's how you raced up the score early on.
Yes, it did.
And at the end, I spent most of my actions building my deck up for the first 3 rounds.
But like that last 7, maybe 8 rounds. I mean, specific actions you did. You were just scoring points like crazy.
That's how I ended up coming to win because I had set myself up with lots of actions that let me generate acquiring those opuses. And I had a doubler where I got to take that action again every time I played one. So I was able to, but you had to have a lot of money to do it.
Mainly money.
Yeah, money and tokens. So I was basically just whatever I could afford, I was buying, and then I would have to go and earn money again to go back and do it again. But I had set up a nice engine going. But that was how I ended up winning. I spent all my time not getting really any benefit, just getting the new cards so that I could do that later because I love building up engines. You can really play this any way you want to play it. Yeah,
there's a couple different ways. I think if you really focused on this would give you a lot of points. Because like Miranda didn't score number 1 on all of them. So if she did, she might have come out in the lead.
Yeah.
And then, but these bonuses could be really powerful.
So, all in all, I think this is a really well-designed game.
I think so, too.
I was
pleasantly surprised.
Yes, I was super impressed with this game. And it has everything I like to see in a game. I love engine building. It's got it. I love multi-use action cards. It's got it.
And it's a point salad.
It's a point salad. It's got, deck building. It's got area control. It's got
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a well-balanced, well-designed game. I am probably a 9 on this one.
I agree. I think it's a 9.
It's my first 9 of the year for 2023.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so for a medium, fairly complex game. It's pretty well balanced, and you can't really ask for too much more than that.
And it's easy to teach. I mean, even though it looks complex, I wouldn't get this out if you had somebody with a new player, just because I think they're going to look at it and be intimidated.
Well, they wouldn't understand the mechanics behind it. You got to build up to that.
Yeah, so. And it's really the strategy. The mechanics aren't that hard.
No, but it's just there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Where generally your intro games, it's 1 or 2 of these mechanics and that's it.
Yeah.
Where this has got 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And so I think it'd be a little bit too much for a beginner Euro gamer, but...
Well, I think the beginner would just walk out if they looked and saw this game come out of the table. It looks intimidating.
It does look intimidating.
But after you get the basics of it, like I said, I taught Robert in just a few minutes. And, we were able to get, into the game. He didn't quite grasp the strategy right away, but as we played...
Yeah, a couple rounds, I got it.
Yeah, so I'm sure, next time your score will probably even be higher. And you got second place the first time, even with that. So, I think it's, there's a lot of ways to play this game.
And it's got room to grow. Yeah. I mean, you can figure out the strategy, see if you can hone in on that and do better next time, or try something else.
Yeah, and they do give you 4 composers, so you can switch them and mix them up.
Okay.
They all function pretty much the same. It's just different icons that give you different bonuses.
Okay.
They do have different counts. That was the interesting thing. So, like, the token count, I thought we were missing tokens because some of them only
some of them ran out super quick.
Like some of them only had 1, some had 2. So when I first got it out, I'm like, this looks like there's pieces missing. And then I looked in the rules, like, nope, this one actually only has 13 total tokens. That one has 16. And
okay.
So they intentionally
made that variety is really built into it.
So, there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of variety in the game. And there's 3, like, each round, there's a bonus you get for taking certain actions. Yeah, there's 3 of each one.
And it separates your eras, too. So it kind of helps with organizing the cards.
Yeah. But there's 3 separate ones that for each year, and you shuffle and randomize those too. So there's flexibility there. So there's lots of different flexibility in this game. I'm very happy with this purchase. I sat down there. I was afraid it was going to be a little intimidating. A lot of the Devir games have been. I think they made Bitoku. I'm not sure if they did I'm pretty sure they did Bitoku. I'm not sure about Praga, but
I don't think they did Praga. I think. Pegasus Spiel maybe did.
Okay,
Probably. I can't
but
remember.
you know, I was expecting this to be heavier than it
Yeah.
was, and I was pleasantly surprised because I really wasn't prepared for a heavy game tonight or the previous night when
Right.
we played it. So, yeah, I
It's
was
good.
happy. With
I
this.
might have to pick this one up. I don't know if there's a whole lot of people in my area that would play this with me, but it's just overall a good game. It'd be good to have it in the collection.
Yep. So that's our thoughts on Lacrimosa. If you got a chance to play, let us know down in the comments what you thought. Or, you know, if you've got any other suggestions along the lines of this, let us know, because it seemed like a pretty
good game.
pretty distinct game. I don't think there's anything that quite reminds me of this one. There's a lot of bits of it that remind me, like I said, Newton or Marco Polo, but the holistic grouping of this, I've not seen.
The mechanic, the variety of the mechanics makes it cool.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, until next time, we will keep gaming, and you keep gaming, and let us know what you
Let us know what you think.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Today we
Howdy.
It threw me off. I expected you to go all Western on me. Grizzly Adams.
Whatever.
This video is not going to get started. Right. Hello.
Hi.
Today we are here.
What?
Hello.
Howdy do.
Did you stop it?